Okay, I wasn't planning to open this conference in English, but looks like I have no choice. Welcome to St. Petersburg, welcome to the European University. We will have to change the program slightly. What I suggest we ask Pavel Vasilyev from our afternoon session to speak first. Thank you. And then we'll pray that the interpreter whom we summoned and who said that he had to have about an hour to get here through the traffic jam will come on time. If he doesn't, then I'll be terribly grateful to Elena Gapova if she takes to translate the second paper, which will be Maya Lavrinovich, okay? And then we'll have Sergei Gruntov, so we'll move everything one paper down, okay? Great, thank you. When I was preparing for this opening words, first thing I wanted to say that we have simultaneous translation, so we don't. Mm-hmm. Sorry. And the second thing I want to do, I wanted to introduce Kapitalina Fedorova, whom most of you already know in person, but she is running somewhere, printing out Pavel's presentation, so I can't do even that. The third thing I wanted to say
we have to improvise.
The third thing I wanted to say, about a year and a half ago, I told a friend of mine here in Petersburg that I had a dream to have a conference about lie and lying. And he said, "You are crazy. This is about all human culture." And he's right, of course, because even the Bible doesn't have the 9th commandment, don't lie. It says, don't say false statement against your fellow citizen. Even the Bible doesn't require us not to lie, because not to lie would be even less possible than to follow the 7th commandment, as all of us know. So this is more or less what the conference is about. There is a famous phrase in Russian from a play by Evgeny Schwartz called "The Shadow," "Тень" in Russian. And there is a wonderful phrase. It's a fairy tale, and the person says, the hero says, "Тень, знай свое место." And there's a happy end, the shadow disappears, everything is okay. So, "Тень, знай свое место," shadow, know your own place. So, in our contemporary society, this is something that I have a feeling that we have to pronounce. Lie, know your place. But to know, to say this, we have to know its place in our life, which we don't. Apparently, all the idealistic ideas of the late 19th, early 20th century, that lie is something that should not be, don't work anymore. So, more or less, this is what our conference is about. We have to understand the place of lie and lying in human culture. And this is, as far as I understand, why we all gathered here today. So I will not take any of your time anymore, and it's my pleasure to pass the word to Irina Prokhorova, who is co-organizer, or rather, whose wonderful NLO publishing house is co-organizer of this conference together with the European University. Thank you, Irina.
We wanted to have a real international conference, so we have it not only with participants, but switching into English. So everything is for the best. I'll just say a few words how the idea of this conference appeared. For the last several years, just watching what's going on in the field of humanities and social studies in Russia, I realize that the period of apprenticeship probably has ended. I think for the last 20 years, the majority of efforts in post-Soviet Russia was to read all this huge amount of intellectual production, which was forbidden during the Soviet time. So in many ways, it was really a modernization of humanities and social studies. But I think nowadays it's high time to realize that we have a new wonderful generation of scholars who are working in this world intellectual context. And what I can see from editing my journal for the last 24 years, that the contours of probably new Russian intellectual schools are appearing. And I think that's a huge necessity to create the platforms of uniting these different groups and institutions which are dealing with this new knowledge. And fortunately, we can see we have quite a lot of wonderful institutions, for instance, European University, and many others in Russia, but they are all working for themselves. Of course, New Literary Observer have 2 annual conferences, the European University has plenty of them, and so many others. But I think it's really high time to create this mutual platform of presenting the Russian thought in the, I would say, world intellectual context. And that was my idea, and I'm very happy that European University and Nikolai Vakhtin just appreciated the thought, and we decided to create this. It's more than just conference, I think, that's only the beginning, but to unite the forces, to invite different partners. And we have quite a lot of such precedents. For instance, this is quite famous, huge conferences like symposiums like CIS in America and many other ways. I think it's really high time to do it in Russia as well. And I think what is the most important is not to stay in this field of so-called Slavic and Russian studies, because sometimes it looks like a ghetto. And I think this conference shows that we are really ready and up to really discussions of very big, interesting problems. So I hope this is the beginning. So we start in St. Petersburg, and again I'm thanking to European University, who became our partner. The next conferences will be in Moscow, and then probably we'll start traveling through Russia. That's the great ideas, but really we start with a very important topic of lie, which is always up to date. And yes, I hope it will be interesting. There will be quite a lot of debates. So I hope it's high time to start.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Irina. Спасибо большое.